Even back when I was young, a lot of folks were already bailing on religion, and for good reason. Religion was doing more harm than good so often. But even back then, I had this sense that people are communal and people are spiritual, that we're wired to be together on these journeys. Consequently, when our spiritual communities fail, we lose something precious. So I hung around. I decided to reimagine and rebuild something that would actually work in our lives, a way to show up authentically together, to connect, to support, and to grow. Now, I know a whole lot of what passes for religion is not that, but I believed then, and even more so now, after 30 years working on it, that it could be, that it can be. Now, I don't think deconstructing and reconstructing spiritual community is really optional for us. I think it's essential because so much of the ugliness that's going on in our world owes to failed spiritual communities, religion not helping us become better human beings and build a better world. Now, here's what I did not find those 30 years. I did not find a one-size-fits-all answer. No. But I did find deep human norms and practices, themes around how human beings do grow and transform and heal and change and do it together. So here's my story. In 1995, I moved to Raleigh to start a church, but instead I ended up starting a laboratory. A lab to explore what spiritual community could be, how it could work, how it could transform people. Now, I had been at a thriving megachurch in LA, and it was not, as many are, shady, not at all. But neither was it deeply transforming a whole lot of people. People who were fully participating and doing all the stuff. So after 1 and 3 and 5 and 7 years, so many were still circling the same problems, the same patterns. So I showed up here in Raleigh to start a church pretty disoriented. Because if the best church that I knew wasn't transforming people deeply, maybe the problem wasn't this church or that church. Maybe the problem was our concept of church. Again, pretty disorienting. I was young, I was energetic, I'd done a whole lot of school, I knew a whole bunch of stuff. But I realized if I did all the stuff I knew how to do, I would end up building some version of a system that I'd already seen wasn't working. So I went to the core of everything I knew. Stripped it all down, starting with the meaning-making narrative that I'd learned all that Sunday school, all that graduate school. Turns out when our institutions don't work, our first step is not working on our institutions, because our institutions are shaped by the behaviors of the people in them. Well, that sounds easy enough. Let's just change people's behaviors, right? Well, you know that doesn't work. Our institutions are shaped by our behaviors, and our behaviors are shaped by our instincts, and our instincts are shaped by the stories that we tell ourselves. Core, meaning-making stories about ourselves, about human nature, how the world works, what reality is. And if those stories get toxic, like a God who says he loves you but seems okay burning a bunch of us forever, if our stories get toxic, so do our institutions and our behaviors and our instincts. So we have to start with the stories that we tell ourselves. I spent 10 years doing that, and that is a long time. I did feel a little bit like a remedial student. It took me that long. But a lot of time spent reimagining our core meaning-making narrative, deep things like how we imagine God, how we imagine human nature, what is true and good and beautiful and what is not. I ransacked a wide swath of historical experience, many wisdom traditions. It probably took me 10 years because it was so scary. I was deviating from everything I knew growing up, and that is scary. And then after years of that, we begin to reimagine the practices people can do that if we will do, will transform us. And then I wrote a book about it, which got me excommunicated from our denomination. Our community voted to stay together. The denomination took back our building, which we had invested in heavily. We became vagabonds. And you know what? It was so worth it. In those 30 years, reimagining and rebuilding, we stumbled onto a way to be communal and a way to be spiritual that actually changes human beings, actually changed us. That thing I noticed at the good church that I came from, people not changing, it didn't happen. People were transforming, becoming better people, building a better world. Now, we weren't special. I love those people, so I think they're special, but it happened because we had discovered and reintegrated deeply human wisdom, how human beings have always changed. What we built wasn't really new. We just rediscovered what had always been about how human beings change. And we grew, surprised ourselves, discovering the inner light within us and within one another. And then I retired, passed the leadership of our community to the next generation, and now I have time. 30 years in the lab, I learned a lot. Trialing and erroring, failing and learning, all that ransacking, all those disciplines, searching for how human beings grow. So now I'm standing with younger leaders who are reimagining their own communities. I'm not really consulting, not instructing. More, I'm just coming alongside, supporting, encouraging, sharing my experience, telling some stories. And every Monday I put out a 10-minute video, how big ideas inform this work of reimagining spiritual community. As I'm recording this, I'm posting about reimagining community in the time of late-stage capitalism. Before that, how Socrates informs this kind of work. I have notes for upcoming series on spiritual community as ours is becoming increasingly a shame-based society. Another on Plato, reintegrating contemplative spirituality. So, watch a few videos, maybe subscribe. See if what I'm talking about resonates. And if it does, and if you are reimagining your spiritual community, come find me. Let's talk. DougHammock.com.